Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Jim Pakulis on the line, and he's CEO of Boosh Food Inc. Jim, welcome to the show.
Adam, thanks a lot for having me. Great to be here.
All right, Jim. So excited to learn more about Boosh today and really, how you're serving as a leader in this whole plant-based movement. I mean, there's a big movement going on where people are shifting really from animal-based proteins to plant-based proteins. And you're right on the forefront of that with Boosh and want to learn more about that. But just to get this kicked off, we'll start this show the way we start them all with our Mission Matters Minute. So, Jim, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Jim, what mission matters to you?
That's a great question. The ability through Boosh to actually do three separate things that are, I don't want to say righteous, but they sure feel good. And that's number one, getting healthy food into people. Like I'm not a vegan or vegetarian, but just to get healthy food such as Boosh to supplement that. And number two, to help the animal kingdom, right? So we're not the demise of the animal kingdom just because we want to have a steak at night. And number three, to try to preserve our resources in the world. We have limited resources. We have an increasing population. We have to go ahead and address this today, now. And I believe products like Boosh and Boosh are at the forefront of helping those three separate elements.
Fantastic. Love bringing mission-based executives and entrepreneurs on the line to share why they do what they do. Like, what's that mission that gets them fired up to go out in the marketplace and really to make a difference like you are with Boosh. Just get started. So we'll go further because I want to know more about the topic, but like, how'd you get started? Like, what led you to Boosh and like down this path?
I have a very small but effective team that we work together, and from a financing standpoint and accounting and legal, and we explored a variety of different sectors about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And we decided that the plant-based sector was going to be cutting edge and will continue to be cutting edge. We don't believe it's a fad. We believe that it's here to stay. It's truly disruptive. It's transformative. And then consequently, we wanted to find a company that we could acquire. Now, we have very strict metrics in regards to taking a company, acquiring it, and going public. We looked at roughly 40 separate companies in the plant-based industry, and we came across Boosh. And they not only checked all the boxes, they exceeded the boxes, primarily because of the founder, Connie Marples. So let me just address Connie for a second here, because this builds the whole foundation of Boosh. Connie, celiac, she has celiac disease, so she's very sensitive as far as the foods that she has. She's also been a successful businesswoman. In the early 2000s, she created several wine bars in the greater Vancouver area. They were on the coveted list of best restaurants in the world by Condé Nast. So she knows how to market, she knows how to create really good foods, and she knows how to grow a company. Fast forward to 2017, a lot of her friends are saying, hey, can you get us recipes for plant-based foods? She decided to take it one step further, that she would go ahead, find a co-packer, and manufacture plant-based foods.
Wow.
So she went out with 6 frozen meals. She went into the Boosh Mobile, her Boosh Mobile, and started driving. It really, it's like a Ford Flex and has pink Boosh all over it. It's beautiful. It's a great vehicle.
Amazing.
And started going to the local health stores and grocers in the greater Vancouver area, and did very well. And then she just continued and grew from there. So that's the genesis and the basis of the start of Boosh. And so getting back to answering your question in conclusion, we wanted to find the right sector. We wanted to find the right company to put all our energy and support behind, management, financial, et cetera, and then grow that and be one of the dominating leaders in the next 3 to 4 years in the plant-based sector. That's our goal.
Man, that's exciting. And this whole movement, I think it's interesting that you and your team, you're looking at different things and you come on this company and in the first place of how you get to the sector in the first place of plant-based and this shift from, again, animal to plant-based proteins. Maybe if you can comment a little on just this shift overall that's going on and just that opportunity that's there.
Sure. Bloomberg came out a few months ago that we're going to see a transformative shift of valuation up to $1.4 trillion valuation in the plant-based industry by 2050. Not
Wow.
that long from now, right?
Yeah.
25, 27 years from now, not that long. Number two, we're seeing your generation, the
Mhm.
millennials, the Gen X's, the Gen Ys, this demographic population
Mhm.
is the one that's transforming from a meat eating base to a plant eating
Yeah.
base. And so when you combine these two macro issues, you have
Mhm.
this huge movement, and it's being affected. Everyone's being affected by it, but some
Mhm.
degree. Now, take a look at the world. If you go to Europe right now, they're probably 5 years ahead of everybody in the plant based
Mhm.
industry. In fact, one of the first phone calls we made after we formed a relationship with Boosh was to a key broker in Europe.
Mhm.
And we were talking about, hey, should we go ahead and expand and export into Europe? And the guy laughed and said, your margins are super thin. The market is already full of tons of plant-based food. So you're
Yeah.
probably best just to go ahead and stay in North America at this point. In any
Mhm.
event, we believe Europe is about 5 years ahead. Canada is probably 5 years ahead of the United States, and I live in the United
Mhm.
States. So in North America, there's roughly 15,000 grocery stores. In Canada, about 42,000
Mhm.
grocery stores in the U.S. And most of these grocery stores
Yeah.
are recognizing the importance of plant-based foods. Grocery stores now, believe it or not, are doing
Mhm.
tenant improvements to make their frozen sections larger because that's predominantly where plant-based foods are at in a grocery
Yeah.
store in the frozen section. So um, uh, we see this trend continuing on a macro level
Mhm.
and a micro level, and we want to be dead smack in the middle of it.
And so, unpacking some of those statements that you made in your mission matter statement, so to speak, you
Yep.
mentioned that there's societal effects, environmental effects, animals. Like there's a lot of things that are affected on that whole supply chain. Maybe go a little bit further and let us. I don't want to assume everybody watching this knows this. Like we hear these keywords or these buzzwords about things on TV or or in the newspaper, and it's just a headline. But while we have people's attention, maybe give them a little bit more of what you found in your research.
Yes, if you look at the big picture and you have to look
Yeah.
at planet Earth, planet Earth right now, and I don't know the statistic. I think it's 6 billion.
Yeah.
We have 6 billion. It's going to be anticipated to be 8 to 10 billion in the not too distant future.
Mhm.
We cannot survive
Mhm.
eating a primarily an animal-based diet. We
Yeah.
can't, and the reason is the amount of water it takes in order to go ahead and provide the animal feed, the hay, in order to
Mhm.
go ahead and provide just for the animal itself is somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 times more when you create a hamburger from a
Mhm.
cow as it would be from a plant-based hamburger. It's
Yeah.
so significant. It's off the charts, the difference. So we have to really start concentrating on the preservation
Mhm.
of planet Earth, and as well as the space that it takes for all these farms, etc.
Mhm.
Now, from the health standpoint, let's look at the health standpoint. Let's look at the hospitals.
Mhm.
Look at all the diseases that are taking place. It just came out in the United States as it relates to COVID that
Yeah.
yes, COVID, a tremendous number of people have died from COVID, but have there been other ancillary issues with that individual,
Mhm.
such as obesity? And I just read a statistic this morning that over 70% of the people that have passed from COVID also
Mhm.
were obese. So was it the obesity or was it the COVID or was it a mixture?
Yeah.
In any event, the point being is that
Mhm.
we as humans need to take better, including myself, need to take better
Yeah.
care of ourselves. And that starts with what you put into your body. And
Mhm.
if you're putting good, healthy, nutritional, plant-based, non-GMO, gluten-free products
Yeah.
that Boosh offers, then there's a higher likelihood you're going to have an extended life,
Mhm.
be happier, be nicer to people, give
Yeah.
more love to people. It just spreads out.
Yeah. No, it's a great story, and I do like to focus on that part of it too, because we can all do our part here. And here's the thing, though, is like doing our part is eating delicious food. I mean, tell me a little bit more for those that haven't seen this or noticed it in the grocery store yet. They will after watching this. Like, tell us more about the product and like the development there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have to go back. Let's go back to say 2000. I used
Mhm.
to eat vegetarian. I was vegetarian actually from 2000 to roughly
Mm.
2010, and the food were so limited of what you could eat.
Yeah.
When you would have this chicken fillet, plant-based chicken fillet, it was literally cardboard. Fast forward to today, there's so many different
Mhm.
options, but more specifically with Boosh, kind of a funny story. The first few months. because I live in the United States, after the acquisition that we did with Boosh and after going public in May of 2021, I wasn't even able to go and try the food. When I first went up there, we had a huge buffet of all the Boosh foods, and I couldn't believe how good it was. The
Wow.
shepherd's pie mixed with the Beyond Meat inside is the crumble is phenomenal. I would compare that with any shepherd's pie using ground beef. It's
Yeah.
absolutely phenomenal. We just came out with 3 refrigerated products, which they're in pouches, which the grocery stores love. It's very unique. We like to differentiate ourselves in the
Yeah.
plant-based industry. Here's another way we do it through pouches. We have a mushroom gravy, a chili, and a sloppy Joe. Grocery stores are loving it because we're not just coming in with another plant-based hamburger, and our packaging is so good. And most importantly, it tastes great. I did an interview this morning, and the host, we were talking about these packages, and he goes, "Yeah, I had mushroom gravy last night. I poured it over my chicken and pasta. It was fantastic." So it's resonating. It's working. It's really good. The repeat orders are coming in. You have to try Boosh Food.
Mm-hmm. I love it. It's just a great success story, and it's creating a lot of win-win opportunities and just scenarios. And again, for what? For eating delicious food. So it's an amazing accomplishment there. I feel like you're giving back for eating good food. I don't know if I could say that, but that's what I feel like.
Yeah, right. It's fun waking up and going to work, if you have to call it work, to go ahead
Yeah.
and give people good quality, healthy food. It
Mm.
feels pretty good at the end of the day.
So let's change it up a bit here. Let's go a little bit more into your plans for, continuing to be a benefit to the marketplace by growing Boosh. I know you're a publicly traded company. Tell us a little bit more about the strategy behind kind of growing this company.
Absolutely. I'll answer it in 2 ways. First, let's talk
Mhm.
about the structure of our publicly traded company.
Mhm.
We're very unique in comparison to our peers. Most companies in the junior market, such as what we are, will go to the market with 50, 100, 150 million shares outstanding.
Yeah.
We are at the other end of the spectrum. We're trying to be as non-dilutive as possible. Non-dilutive means not to issue more shares than we have to, because
Yeah.
each time you issue more shares, it dilutes it for the shareholders. So we went public with just 16 million shares outstanding, which is a really, really conservative number. And about 30%, 28 to 30% of that was owned by insiders, meaning the founders of the companies. So that's another great thing that shareholders want to see. Also, myself, I don't take a salary. My compensation is 50-cent warrants. So my allegiance and alignment is directly with shareholders to get this company successful.
Yeah.
We could have taken about 10 million in at our IPO. We took just 2.8 million in, issued whatever the number of shares were at that time. I can't remember, 4 million shares. It was a very conservative structure that we set up. The key to that too, as well, as we really like in retail investors. Retail investors are the doctors and the lawyers and the teachers and the plumbers. These are retail investors, as opposed to institutional institutional investors, such as hedge funds and venture funds. Just so your audience recognizes that. So it's much more difficult to get retail investors, a lot of retail investors. But in the end game, we believe you have much more solid base to grow the company. So with our 2.8 million that we brought in for our small IPO, we have over 1,100 retail investors, which is almost unheard of.
That is.
So
That's congratulations. That
thank
just
you.
shows like it's a testament to the brand, to what you're doing. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we're real happy. So that's the structure part of it. Now, as far as what we want to do with the company, we've created 5 revenue streams, Adam. The first one is organic growth. What does that mean? Just getting into grocery stores. In January of 2021, we were in 125 grocery stores. By the end of December, we were in over 450 grocery stores throughout Canada. We just announced 2 days ago, 2 days ago, we announced getting into Save On in 120 stores in one fell swoop. Plus, they have another 50 stores that we may get into. And so we got into 4 frozen products into Save On. So organic growth, continuing growing there. We can discuss this in a few minutes in regards to our personnel and our professionals that work with us at Boosh. Number 2 is the growth into the United States. We signed an agreement with a key food broker called Thrive in the United States. Tremendous. They touch all 4 corners of the U.S. They have relationships with all the major grocery stores. We've sent down samples to Thrive. Our head of North American sales is down in or heading down into the United States for this month to be traveling throughout the United States to meeting the heads and the managers and the buyers of the grocery store. So that's number two. Number three, we love acquisitions. I love acquisitions. That's what I'm constantly looking at, other deals for Boosh to acquire. Again, similar metrics that we talked about earlier, very strict metrics to get into. But we did 3 small acquisitions already last year. So we're on the hunt to do more acquisitions. Number 4 is e-commerce. We signed up with shopveggie.com in order to go ahead and have home delivery through Shop Veggie. And then we just announced at the end of January, we will be able to go ahead and have Boosh Food delivered directly from the booshfood.com website. So 5 different revenue streams that we put into place last year. And now it's just shoulder to the grindstone, pushing out to drive revenues in. So that's the corporate growth.
And so what kind of feedback have you gotten from the Boosh community? Or is there a special name for the Boosh community, by the way? You had Boosh Mobile, so I love that one already. But like the community of people that are like that are on social media, otherwise, like what kind of feedback have you gotten from this?
Overall, it's been a positive feedback. They're watching us. They like us. The key in any entity that's getting up and going is what is the diagram towards revenues? Give us the road, map out the road towards revenues. So I always try to manage expectations as the CEO, and I never, I try not to, paint this glorified picture. I just explain where we've been, where we're at, and what I anticipate is going to happen. So the key issue is they love the food. People love the food. They're trying the food. COVID's been a challenge, obviously, with opening and closing of stores. Can you go out of the house? Can't you go out of the house? So this back and forth stuff, and that's hurt everybody. Yep. But the bottom line is everyone's excited for us to go ahead and now start delivering revenues, and that's my goal. Just pushing hard for revenues.
Amazing. And you mentioned leadership team. So tell us a little bit more about the team that you put into place to help you accomplish this big task.
Yeah, absolutely. So Connie, we just talked about Connie. Number 2, we looked high and low for a top tier sales professional. We realized that one of the key aspects, besides the brokerage community that we work hand in hand with, food brokerage, we wanted to have our own internal team. We want to control as much of this process as possible. So we brought in, we interviewed, we hired TJ Welsh, close to 15 years of natural food experience. He also was a sales manager for Unify. He has tremendous amount of knowledge, and he has the relationships. He was also instrumental, besides Connie, getting us into Save On, and he just started last month. So he's reevaluating our landscape as far as our sales landscape, making structural moves, and we're proceeding forward. So that's number 2. Number 3, from an internal standpoint, Ali Samai, over 20 years of natural food experience. He's heading inside. He's working with us on our ops as a consultant. And then from there, we have a great support team surrounding each of these key individuals at our 8,500 multi-use facility in Greater Vancouver area. And that facility is really neat because we built a studio, a kitchen studio, kind of a Martha Stewart type of thing, where Connie will be cooking up on a weekly basis with her podcast. And then we also just have a studio for podcasts similar to this, and as well as a regular offices, et cetera. So we try to think outside the box as we grow. We try to be as differential in the marketplace as possible. And with our food, we try to be different with our food products that we're bringing into the marketplace. So right now we're at 3 different sections of the grocery store: frozen, refrigerated, and we just introduced shelf stable with our macaroni and cheese products.
Man, I love this. And it shows also. So some of these nuances, I just want to pull out a little bit. Like you mentioned, having a podcast, you mentioned having, we're going to have cooking side, a cooking show aspect of it, like all these different things. Like these are the forward thinking things that differentiate, in my opinion, brands going forward. Like these things are the things that allow you to build a real community and a real movement around not just the brand, but the food and the stories behind it and the people behind it. To me, like going forward, like this is what differentiates, a company that's going to be there for a long time and that's going to have this, and it's going to have a raving fan type community, and maybe another one that's not going to be just quite hit their stride. So I'm personally excited to watch the continued rise of Boosh.
Thank you.
So what would you say? I mean, we're for context for everybody that's watching this, it's 2022 and it's January. So what would you define going into 2022? A lot of things happen in the market, in the world that we don't necessarily have control over. But what would be like a successful year for Boosh in your opinion? Like what would you define as success this year?
2 to 3 additional acquisitions, material acquisitions, synergistically fitting very well. As you are aware, a lot of
Mhm.
acquisitions don't work well because the teams don't mesh. You could have a
Yeah.
superstar A and a superstar B, and they just don't mesh. It's actually like watching the superstars, the All-Star games, right? When you watch the
Mhm.
basketball All-Star games, it's like
Mhm.
sometimes they just don't mesh. So I want successful acquisitions. We've done 3 successful
Mhm.
ones. I want 2 to 3 more this year that are material, larger, I hope, than the ones that we've done from a
Mhm.
revenue standpoint. I would love us to hit 1,000 grocery stores in Canada. We're at 600 plus
Yeah.
right now, and then make a good mark in the United States. If we can get to 250 grocery stores in the United States, fantastic. And then, of
Mhm.
course, working with Shop Veggie, getting the home delivery going, and getting Boosh
Yeah.
Food revenues going. So I don't want to provide revenue guidance right now,
Yeah.
but I
Of course.
probably will in a month or two.
Mm.
But it's simply now that the structure is in place,
Yeah.
and that took a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of sweat, but we got
Mhm.
the structure in place, and now we have to go to work and
Mhm.
drive those revenues. So a successful 22 would be all 5 of those revenue streams I've
Yeah.
mentioned, producing revenues and growing the company accordingly.
Hmm. And on the e-com side of it, or the direct delivery side of it, it seems to me like that's just going to be, I mean, would you know, and if you can share this right now, do you know what markets that might be available or rolled out to first?
The Canadian market
Hmm.
first. Yeah,
Hmm.
in the Canadian marketplace,
Hmm. We
and
want,
then
we
the
want, we
US.
want you down here too. I need you in LA too, man. I need you in, like, come on. I would
We'll
define,
get
that's
there.
how I would define it. You didn't ask me the question and get to work. No, just play.
That's We'll get to you. We'll get to you. Especially LA. That's a huge market.
Yeah.
Huge
Yeah.
market.
Yeah, when I look at the demographic here and what we and then just our eating preferences, yeah, I'm excited to be able to just go to the website, click on the button, and boom, it shows up. So exciting
Yeah.
stuff and exciting stuff ahead. So
Yep.
that being said, Jim, I mean, lots going on. I mean, what's next for you? What's next for Boosh?
Just again, shoulder to the grindstone.
Yeah,
That's it. Now it's time to I'm sounding so repetitive, but now it's time to drive the revenues. That's what our shareholders want, our
yeah.
investors want. That's what I want. The
Mhm.
marketplace wants, the consumer wants, everyone wants that. So now let's get our products
Yeah,
onto the plates at your home and my home and homes all throughout North America. That's the goal.
fantastic. So if somebody wants to learn more about Boosh, whether it's obviously if it's in their grocery store, they can see it there. But in terms of like the investor side of things, I know you're publicly traded. Like, how do people learn more and how do they get more information overall?
Sure. Go to www.booshfoodsingular.com. Boosh
Yeah.
Food. We're traded on the CSE. The ticker is
Mhm.
VEGI. We're traded on the OTC in the US under
Yeah.
VGGIF. And if you have any European listeners, we're traded on the
Mhm.
Frankfurt under 77 small I.
Fantastic. Well, Jim, it's been great learning more about the Boosh story and your mission and really just your plans for the future and growing this thing. I'm excited to watch the continual rise. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, this is your first time with Mission Matters. We're all about bringing on executives and entrepreneurs that are mission based and that are out there in the marketplace making a difference. If that's something that's interesting to you, definitely hit that subscribe button because we have many more mission based individuals coming on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Jim, really, it has been a pleasure. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Adam.